I'm going to go ahead and get started. We're going to be talking about the RLA. If you don't know what that means, Reciprocal Lending Agreement, which kicked in, I think it kicked in like the day before Christmas Eve last year, where we have 3 partner libraries. And I'm going to bring up a document. And this is explaining if you can see on the screen there, you now have access to more books. I hope you can see that. Let's see if I can zoom in. I don't know how to do that on here. Let's see. Oh, here. Yeah, hopefully you can see that. If there's any problems, let me know. You have access to even more books. This is something we sent out a long time ago for promotion for patrons. Again, now you'll notice a change at the bottom here. So this has basic instructions, but we also sent out another form in a PDF, JPEG that has, I'll show you in a minute, that has more detailed instructions. And if you notice here at the bottom, so you can see, first of all, the 3 library partners downstate: Suburban Library Cooperative, Midwest Collaborative, which is MCLS, Lakeland, and then a 4th one I've added to this. I haven't sent this out yet because it doesn't kick in until the 3rd of January. We will have this 4th one joining us. So we will have a total of 5 library systems total, which is incredible. I think the way we are now, it's over 100,000 titles, and PLN, which is called Download Destination, they have approximately 53,000 titles. So that is going to be significant. But we're going to have to get the word out to patrons who've already signed in for the 3. We'll have to sign in for the 4th one as well. And the instructions I'm going to give today will be for different ways to sign in. First of all, using a browser, and secondly, using Libby. And then the 3rd way, which is going to be important, if you have, of course, we all have patrons who use the Kindles, Kindle Fires. Kindle Fire patrons, starting in February, will no longer be able to get the Overdrive app that they've been using for years. Patrons who already have it will still be able to use it, but new patrons going forward will no longer be able to use the Overdrive app. So the way they'll have to do that is one of 2 ways. They'll have to get Overdrive. I'm sorry, they'll have to get Libby. They'll have to, whoops, somebody is entering. Let's see, one moment. Enter the waiting room. Sorry. I'm gonna let a couple of people in. Okay, I'll go back to what I was saying. The patrons who use Kindle going forward after February will have to use Libby on a device like my phone that I'm trying to show you here, but it's getting blanked out. There it is. They'll use Libby and send it to Kindle. Or the alternate method, which I'm going to show you later, is to use Libby using a browser. So you can access Libby via the browser. And it's a great way to do it. So I'm going to show you that last. Any questions? Okay. So for those of you who joined late, I'm showing a document that will be sent out at the end of the month, showing that there will be one more additional library system joining us.
Jeremy?
Yeah.
I have a question, may seem odd, I don't know, but I have a question. You know, when you use Libby and it goes to the browser, that doesn't mean when it downloads on the browser, that doesn't mean that people have to be online, right? When they read it?
That's right, but they do need to be online to be able to
download it. Okay, that's kind of what I thought. We have a lot of patrons that don't get internet out in the rural areas. And so they come here, they download a few books, and then they go home. And I just wanted to make sure that when they're using Libby, that they're able to, or when they're reading with Libby, that they just, you know, they're not, they can do it without internet. So that was my question.
Yeah, every once in a while I do see glitches occur during that procedure, and that usually is because somebody has a poor internet connection, which probably happens a lot in the rural areas. And sometimes in libraries, you go to a different corner of the library and the Wi-Fi is not as good.
Mhm,
And the
mhm.
whole entire book doesn't download. I've seen that
Right.
before.
Okay,
Yeah,
thank you.
you're welcome. And with this thing I'm going to tell you at the end, with using Libby on the browser, the patrons with the Kindle, what you would want to do is have it sent to their Kindle device. And I'm sure many of you have gone through that procedure of send to Kindle with the patrons. It's kind of a little bit tricky. And you have to open up Amazon and sign in and then tell it which device to deliver it to. So let's go ahead and start off. Let me make sure I'm sharing the screen properly, that you can see it. Let me go to a browser, and I hope you're seeing the Great Lakes Digital Libraries on Chrome. I'm using Chrome browser. Okay, you should see Brad Pitt there and some other magazines at the very top. Okay, so the very first thing is I will scroll all the way to the very bottom of the page, and patrons will see this. I'll highlight it. You can use your Great Lakes Digital Libraries card to borrow titles from these partner libraries. So it shows the 3 partner libraries, Lakeland, MCLS, and Suburban. And each one of these can be clicked on and it will open up their individual pages. So if this is a patron using the browser to do their borrowing, also at the very top, you can see partner libraries new. And there's a drop down and it shows the exact same thing. So if a patron wanted to browse any of these collections, they would have to open up each page separately and sign in to each page separately to be able to using this method. So let's say I want to look at, well, first I'll just say Midwest Collaborative have the largest collection. So if you go here to Great Lakes, where we are, subjects, and then you'll see right here, can you see that? See all 20,463. So that's how many titles we have in our collection. And then if I go to partner libraries at the top and I click on MCLS, Midwest Collaborative, see how it opens up their page, MCLS at the top left. And if I go to subjects, they have 69,883 titles total in their collection. So now I have a browser tab for Great Lakes Digital. If you can see at the very top, I have a browser tab for MCLS. And if I wanted to go back to the partner libraries at the top, I can open up Lakeland in yet another page. See that Lakeland Library Cooperative, their logo. So it's a totally different set of titles. See different collections that they curate and different color patterns in the background. See here, there's this blue. And if I jump back over ours, let's go to the main page though. It's got kind of, there's blue and then there's that kind of orange color. And then if you look at MCLS, if I go to the main page again, it has the green. You can see, you can tell which page you're on easily. So I'm going to skip to the Lakeland. If I go to subjects, and if you look there, 26,447. So you can see the size of the collections that we got access to. And if I go back up to the very top, hopefully you're following me here at the very top, partner libraries new. Which one didn't I open yet? Suburban. You can see Suburban has like sort of that deeper blue color. And if I go to subjects, you'll see that they're closer in size to our collection, 15,858. I'm sorry, 15,828 titles. So for each one, so let's say I wanted to, let's go to the second tab. I wanted to look for a title. Let's say maybe the patron is looking for a specific book, right? And they couldn't find it in Great Lakes Digital Libraries collection. So the next logical step that I would recommend would be to go to Midwest Collaboratives because they have the biggest collection. So you do a search and maybe you find the title you're looking for. And if it's available or something, like let's say they're looking for this title borrow that, you would sign in, and I'll show you what that looks like to sign in. So it's just like they would sign in on the Great Lakes Digital, but of course, like I said, they have to sign in separately for this collection. So sign in on the top right and select your library. Let's go all the way down, and we should start seeing some of our libraries there. So I'm going to find my library, Peter White, and I'm going to type in my card number, which is in. Privilege has expired. Oh, okay. I'm using my test one here, so use my actual. Okay, there it is. So now I am signed in to the MCLS collection. Does that make sense that I'm signed in separately from our own collection? Now I'm signed into another library's collection. So it would be the exact same way if you patrons still didn't find the title and they wanted to go browse the Lakeland collection. So I moved over to the next tab. I'm in Lakeland's collection. And if they wanted to sign in to Lakeland, if they found the title they're looking for, so then I would go select library, and it's going to first show the Lakeland libraries, and then keep going. And there's Alpena and let's see, Bay Mills, Bayless. There we go. Now we're starting to see some of our libraries, and let's go find my own library that I'm a member of and sign in. So now I'm signed into both the MCLS on one tab, Lakeland on another tab, and then if I wanted to sign into Suburban, I would sign in to that tab. Does that make sense using the browser? I'm sure you have patrons who use the browser. If you're wanting to speak, you may have to unmute yourself if you have any questions. Okay. So what I will do is.
May I?
Jeremy, excuse me. Oh,
Hi.
I just had a phone call from a patron who said she can't get into the MLCS or whatever it was. She can access the other two, but not that one. Have you had any other issues with that? Any suggestions for what I should tell her?
I have not had that, but I could actually talk to her if you want to give her my number, or I can call her.
Okay.
Help walk her through it. Or I would say be cautious about the section that I just showed. I'll go back to it, where it was signing in, and let's pretend we're signing into Suburban and then select library. So maybe she couldn't find the library alphabetically, but then she maybe had to keep continuing down to start to see the libraries here. So Drummond should show up.
We'll do a little problem solving together, and if we can't figure it out, I'll give her your number.
Sure. That goes for everyone. You know, if you patrons have trouble, I can be of assistance anytime. And just so while we're talking about that, if you look at the top right of, where is it? Let's go to the Great Lakes Digital page. See, we're back on our own page. Top right, support. See support there. You can always direct your patron to this, or, you know, if the patron is really technophobic, if you have time, you could always fill it out for the patron and see how that opens this up. Oh, someone else is coming in, Bonnie. And I would answer these emails. So I'm getting a lot of these. If you've noticed from patrons, we've switched it since the pandemic. When the pandemic began, we actually had it set up so that the person didn't have to have their library card up to date in order to use Libby. We just switched it last week.
talk about the problem
good
with having
stand.
your cards authenticating.
I'm sure you've had some of those calls, right?
Yep.
I'm sure every one of you, and I'm getting a lot of these people who are filling this form out, and I'm getting those emails. So is a form. I'm sure you've seen this before. You have to fill out what you're using, what kind of device, if you're using Libby or
So this looks like
browser and so forth.
this person's name and all that.
Okay, so if you have any questions about this stuff, contact me.
Jeremy, I have a question. This is Monique
Sure.
Mescanava.
Hi.
If you want to just browse the collections of all the different libraries, do you need to be signed in, or can you just look at them without signing in?
You can, good question. You can look in without signing in. You can browse through it. The only difference is like they won't have access to our magazines because we subscribe to magazines, some of the others don't. So that's the only real difference. But yeah, one thing to note is that patrons, like our own patrons, have a priority for holds over the patrons of any of those other library systems. And the same goes for our patrons. So if there's something that MCLS owns, but we do not own, if our patrons put that on hold, they have to wait until the very end of the list of holds. So it's unlikely that they're going to get it anytime soon if it's a hot bestseller title. So as you know, we had trouble with the Hachette titles, like David Baldacci was one example, Michael Connolly, some others. That they weren't selling to us. The company Hachette, they didn't want to sell to us. That's one of the major publishers. And we got that straightened out, sorted out recently. So we are starting to get those Michael Connolly and Baldacci books. I don't know if your patrons had complained to you about that, but for a while there, it was something like if they wanted those titles, particular titles from Hachette, to wait a very long time. They would become available on the other library systems.
Do they keep getting bumped to the bottom if others? Okay.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's the way it works. So,
So they
there's
could
really-
have been in line and been the next one, but then two more
right.
that day and they get in ahead. Okay. That's helpful.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's it. That's one of the drawbacks of this. That's all. But one thing is that they will have, like for MCLS, their patrons can place 15, I think it's like 15 holds at a time. Right, so for us, it's 5 or 6, I can't remember off the top of my head, holds, but so they, our patrons can place many more holds from their systems. So it's quite interesting. So any more questions about using that browser? Because I'm going to move on to Libby next. And if you're muted, you may have to unmute yourself if you have questions at this point. Okay. So I'm going to share my screen and just let me know right away. Let me make sure I am sharing. Oops. I have to reconnect momentarily. This Lonely Screen app, it's allowing me to share what's on my phone. Here it goes. Okay, so you should be seeing on the screen. I hope you can see this. Yeah, thumbs up, good. Okay, so you can see the Great Lakes Digital Libraries, and hopefully you know how to tell your patrons how to get here. So you would have the patron using their phone download the Libby app from like either the Apple App Store or the one for the Android phones. Okay, so here's the Libby app, and this is hopefully familiar to you, the different collections that I curate. There's like the holiday ones, and then you have separate pages for kids and teens and magazines, and then they even have a separate page here for the mysteries. And then if you'll notice, this is brand new. I'm just giving you a quick tour because there are some things that have changed since the last time we did this. Notice Canopy. So some libraries have Canopy, some have subscribed or will be starting in the next month or so. And if that's the case, this Canopy will apply to the patrons of the libraries who subscribe to Canopy, which is this video streaming service. And it's recently been purchased by Overdrive. So you can't access it through the Libby app, but all this is doing, if you scroll down a little bit more, it's just making the patron aware of it. The K, that's the Canopy logo, and Get just brings them to the App Store. So anyway, and then as you can see, the magazines, and we have the digital magazine subscriptions. This is going to be the topic of the lunch bunch next month. I'm going to talk all about the digital magazines. So, and all the ways that you can make the reading process a little easier for the patrons, how you can resize things and use a certain kind of a view so it's easier to read on a phone. Okay, so as you can see, certain things that I've noticed that have changed just in the last year. Now, it's important that the patron has it set so that their apps are being updated, because this is one of the things that's new. Is you notice the Libby logo at the bottom. See that the Libby logo at the bottom center? That's your menu screen. Remember last time I did this, it was in the top right. It used to be upper right. So they've moved this. So if I press on that, the little logo, and it has 2 there, meaning there are 2 notifications. So if I press on there, that opens up, this is the menu section. And this is what we're going to be doing next. We're going to be doing that same procedure of adding those, of signing into those different libraries. But this is where it gets a little tricky. And I have a great document that if you would like it, I will send it out to you. And it has step by step, and this can be sent out to the patrons. So this is a little tricky, and there are a few steps that every patron has to go through for each one of our partner libraries to get signed in. But it's only a one-time thing with Libby. So you only have to have the patron do this once, and they should be good. So as you can see, again, I clicked on that at the bottom. I'll go back just so you can see where we were. This is the main screen. See Great Lakes Digital Libraries at the top. At the bottom center is the logo for the menu. Okay, and you can see your libraries, Great Lakes Digital Libraries. So I've already added that library. So let's pretend I haven't, and I'm going to go add library. Okay, I'll go back, I'll hide, just so you can see what I just did. The first step to do this, to add your card to our system, Great Lakes Digital, is add library. See that? So this has been updated probably since the last time we've done one of these lunch bunches on this subject. So this is a little different. So add library, I'm clicking add library. And up here it says, you can search for your library by name or branch location. So up here, I am going to, it already came up on the screen because it remembered that I searched this already, but let's pretend I had not already searched it, and I will search Great Lakes Digital. Let's see what happens. There it goes. See, it comes up, matching libraries, Great Lakes Digital. So I will click here. Okay, Great Lakes Digital. And then it just, this is where it gets confusing. It just kicked me back to that main screen. So now I have to go back into the menu, down at the bottom center. Okay, so now I have.
What is your last name, please?
Question?
And first name?
Oh, so one card.
Raymond.
See that? One card plus. I'm going to tap on that. And it, let's say I'm going to remove my card and just pretend I wasn't already in here. So I'm going to go add a card, choose location. Peter White. I'm going to add my card number. Okay, and PIN. Okay. Did that make sense? How to do that? That's what your patron would do just to be able to access the Great Lakes Digital. So this next thing is what we're going to have to do for each of the 3 partner libraries, and coming soon, the 4th partner library. So first thing, just like we just did, add library. Okay, so I'm going to tap add library, And I'm going to start with, let's do that Midwest Collaborative for Library Services, if you can remember that whole long name. But let's see if it just takes Midwest. There, I just did it. MIDW. Midwest Collaborative, see it there? Tap on that. And you can see that we have the MCLS logo at the top. Okay. And yet again, we have to click on the menu, which is the Libby logo. And we can go one card, add card. Okay. Did you notice? Let's go back. Did you notice that it has a separate thing here, which has their colors? You see the difference? Recognize the colors on the right. That's the GLDL colors. Here is the MCLS colors. So I'm going to go add a card, and I'm going to go, here's the tricky part. I'm visiting from another library, meaning I'm visiting from one of the partners. Okay. So I'm visiting from another library, and notice you get the 3 of the partners. So I'm going to do Great Lakes Digital. Okay, you're following me? Great Lakes Digital. And then you get the list of all of our libraries. And then I will go into my library and sign in. Watch. Peter White, card number. And PIN. Oops. Okay. So if I go, let's go hide. Okay, so if we notice, I went back to the MCLS screen, which shows now all of their stuff. And then I'm going to go back yet again to the menu screen, Libby. Okay. Now notice, you see I have Great Lakes Digital and Midwest. I have 2 cards on here now, 2 cards. So now let's add a third. So the first step would be add library. Okay. And let's do Suburban. Suburban Library Cooperative. See it there? I'm going to tap on it. And you see their logo pops up. So next step would be go back again to the Libby logo. And this is where it's tricky. 2 cards plus. I just need to do the plus. Notice there's their colors for Suburban. You see where I'm circling it? Their colors. So I need to add a card to that. I'm visiting from another library. Okay. I'm visiting from Great Lakes Digital. Okay. And I'm visiting from Peter White. And enter the card and so forth. Okay. And with any luck, I typed it correctly. Oh, I made a typo in there somewhere. I see what I did. That's what I get for going too fast. Okay, it worked. Next, back, and hide. It didn't show it yet until I go yet again back into it, the bottom center menu. And notice I have 3 libraries now. Okay, so don't worry if you didn't catch everything I was doing. I have detailed instructions to send you. And it gets easier, I promise, each time you do this with the patron. So add library, I'm going to add the 4th one. So there will be a total of 4. And again, next month will be a 5th one. Add library, and last one that I did, and don't worry about memorizing these because they're also on the sheet, Lakeland. So I didn't even finish typing it and it popped up, Lakeland Library Cooperative. Okay, you can see their logo at the top. And then again, I'm going to go back to the Libby logo at the bottom, go back into the menu, and then click 3 cards plus, meaning I'm going to add another card. Okay, and you can see another color scheme on the left that's highlighted or that's encircled, and then add a card, and I'm visiting from another library. We're almost done. I'm visiting from Great Lakes Digital, and let's see here. P for Peter White, where is it? There it is. And okay, let's hope I typed it right with my thumbs here. Okay. Okay, and next, and then I'm gonna hide it and then go back into it again. Just annoying, but that's what they make you do. See, bottom center again, and voila, I've got 4 library systems. So Great Lakes Digital, which is ours, and 3 additional ones. And do you know what that star means there next to Lakeland? The star next to Lakeland, that means it's the one that I'm currently in. It's the system that I'm currently browsing. If I were to click hide at the top here and looking at these, hopefully these make sense. These icons, the one to the left of center is, I guess they call that the library. Okay, which now I'm in, see here. And if I were to start scrolling down, you would see the collections that they've created. They've got their separate kids and teens pages. They've got their separate just added content and so forth. If I wanted to browse MCLS next, I would go back to the Libby logo in the center for menu, and I would click on, I would just tap my finger on Midwest Collaborative, and see, and now we're looking at their collection, which you can see is different. They've got a list of NPR's books we love. They've got a list, they've got their just added. They've got this one called Real People, Real Lives, which is biographies. They've got holiday reads. Some of the titles are the same that we have and others are different. So if you wanted to browse another collection, so let's go back to the center again, and which one haven't we looked at yet? Suburban, the one on the bottom. Tap on that, and you've got, yet again, totally different, some similar titles and some different ones, but see, they've got their separate kids page and their separate teens. So if you went to their kids page, you'd see Wimpy Kid, Wings of Fire books. We have some of those. Cat Kid, we don't have any of those. So some of these are new to me. So that arrow brings you back to the previous page. And then if I were to go back into the Libby logo, you will see the star. See where the star is now? The star is highlighting Suburban. That means that's the one I'm currently in. So if I want to jump back to Great Lakes Digital, which is our collection, tap on the top one, and I'm now looking in the Great Lakes Digital Libraries collection. Any questions before I move on? I know there's a lot of information there, but here, I'll show you, I'll share the screen that has that document that I'm referring to. We have a document, where is it? This was created by Heather from Menominee County, who graciously put this together. It's going to need an update soon, but this one has step-by-step. Hopefully you can see that on the screen there. Step 1, go to the Libby menu. Step 2, search for a partner library and select it. Step 3, so it's got every step along the way that I just went through to make it easier for you and your patron. The only thing that's going to be a little different is this last panel saying each library collection has its own search. This has been updated somewhat. Should I show you that now, or do you want me to move on? Anybody want to see that search? Yeah, thumbs up there. Okay, so let's hop back to that screen. Give me one moment. Get back to Libby. Okay, so right now I am in the Great Lakes Digital Libraries. Okay, you can see at the top. Oops. Yes, can't really see it there. All right, and then is it clear from this bottom set of icons which one I would use to search? It would be the magnifying glass. Yeah, on the left. Okay, and then let's say I want to search for something that I know that we have, but is likely checked out. Let's go to David Baldacci. And okay, the first one that comes up. See how I can tell that it's people have it already and it says place hold, that means it's checked out. So if I were to tap here, see this looks like a kind of a little calendar and it has 3 dots. And then the one below it, it has 4 dots. That means more people have that on hold than this one. So let's tap on this here. Okay. And it's telling me the information I need to know. So it's got about a 6-week wait at Great Lakes Digital Libraries. Now, if I continue scrolling up, look what it shows me. It shows me that there's a several-month wait at Lakeland. They have the same book. There's about 19 weeks wait at Suburban and several months wait at Midwest. So there's not much chance of getting it from one of the other libraries for this particular title. But I could try another one. Let's see what happens. Let's see if I get lucky and find one that would be a benefit. What is that series called? Bridgerton. Yeah, here we go. So let's say the first one, #1 in series. Okay, and there's no highlighted dots. So that means this one, you got a 2-week wait in our collection. But if I scroll up, your patron is in luck. If they want this particular one, 2 weeks wait at Lakeland, but 4 out of 9 copies are available right now at Suburban. See? And they could just click that and borrow it. Same thing with MCLS. There is 1 copy out of 21 available at this moment to the patron, and they could grab it right there. Does that make sense?
Jeremy, this is Monique. Does that mean that once you do the search, that then it's going to look at all the other systems for that title also?
But there's a catch. Yes, but there's a catch. It only works so far if it's something that we own in our collection.
Oh, okay.
So if there's something that we do not own yet, or we just never did or never will, it's not going to show up in the search. You would have to go separately into each one of those collections to do the search.
Okay, I was hoping there was some magic thing where you could put the title in and it would tell you all the libraries that had it at.
Well,
sounds like
you
it
know
will, but yeah.
That question, thanks, Monique. That question has come up before, and I've talked to the Overdrive people, and I was told that they are working on something for that. They're trying to improve this search.
Okay.
So,
Awesome. Thank you.
yeah, you're welcome. So let me show you something that's going to look almost the same, but instead of being on my phone, let's do a new share here. It's on the browser. So I have it open already. So this is Libby. Can you see this where it says shelf and it's a black background? Okay. Now, if you can see this, hopefully it's not too small of print on your screen there. At the very top, this is the, oops, it should say .com/ let me just type in the correct libbyapp.com/library. Oops, there it came up. So this is the important URL that you need to write down and have available to your patrons. So going forward, like I was saying, after February, the patrons who are using Kindle devices will no longer be able to use the Overdrive app if they're a first-time user. People who already have it will still be able to, but this is what they're going to type into the browser. And when I say the browser, the browser that they would use on their actual Kindle Fire, they could just type that URL right there, ending with GLDL, and it brings you to, here it is, the Great Lakes Digital Libraries page. And it's exactly what you would see on Libby, just wider, on a bigger space. So for patrons who are I would actually recommend this for everyone, because you're accessing basically the same thing that you have on your Libby on your phone. So the way you would do this is, let's see if I can make the screen a little easier to read here. I've got this stuff covering it at the bottom. Just a moment here. Okay, so see how you've got the same controls at the bottom, and you've got that in the center. That's your menu screen, like I described earlier. Open that, see how it opens up your menu screen. And you've got where it says your libraries. We haven't added any cards yet. We haven't added any libraries or cards. It's the exact same procedure as we just went through. So I'll just give you a quick run through of that again for at least one or two of these. So first thing I would do would be to add the Great Lakes Digital. So our home library, add library. And I would, it says you want to do a search, and then you could also do a map of the libraries. I would recommend just doing the search. So I'm just going to type digital. There it goes. See, popped up. I selected it. Okay, and then go back. I keep saying go back to that Libby logo, which is your menu, and where it says no cards with the little plus, that's to add card. So I'm going to add card. And we're not visiting from another because this is our library, Great Lakes. I'll choose a location. Let's go to P for Peter White. And I will type in my card number and PIN. And there I am. So let's hide that. Let's go back into it again, and let's go add library. And let's pretend we're going to add MCLS next. Nope, it didn't like that. Let's do Midwest Collaborative. If you can memorize that whole name. Oh, there it is. Midwest Collaborative. And once again, back to the Libby logo at the bottom. And now it wants me to add card, which is the plus next to where it says one card, plus. And you see again, the green colors for the MCLS, add a card. And remember this step, I'm visiting from another library. So let's do that. Visiting from Great Lakes Digital. Trust me, this gets easier the more times you do it, especially when you have that document handy that I referenced. Peter White. And number to sign in. Okay, so now I've signed in to, let's hide this and go back in. So now I've got Great Lakes Digital and MCLS. Any questions about that procedure? It should look identical to the way it was on my phone, on the Libby, but this is using a browser instead of using an app on a phone. So if you ever have a patron with you and you're stuck trying to get this to work, you can call me, you can send me an email, and I can help. Okay. So any more questions about the browser and why you would want to use Libby on a browser? Does that make sense? This is what Overdrive are encouraging people to tell the public to use when they're using a Kindle. I don't know what % of your patrons are using Kindle devices, but somewhere I had read that somewhere up to 40%, even more. So it's quite a few people that will be affected by this. But again, people who already have the Overdrive app, on their Kindle prior to February are going to be fine. They can continue borrowing the same way. But if it were me, if I were working frontline staff at the library like I used to at Peter White, and someone came in and they had a Kindle, first question, do you have a smartphone? Do you have an iPhone? They say yes. I'd say good. Let's get Libby on your phone, and whenever you borrow something, just have it sent to your Kindle. That's the easiest way to do it. If they did not have an iPhone or an Android phone or something, I would then go with let's open up your browser on your Kindle device and access Libby, which is libbyapp.com/library/GLDL.
Jeremy, I have a question. This is Monique.
Hi.
I'm just, my brains must not be working today, but when you go and use the browser method, is it delivering the title to your computer then? Or are you then going in with the device and picking it up somewhere else? I'm confused a little bit on the browser part. I understand that you don't have to be connected to read it, but does it deposit it as an audio file or an ebook onto your computer then?
It does, yeah.
I'm not sure when the browser method where it goes.
Actually, the browser method, if you're just using a browser on a computer, it's just going to be streaming it.
It's going to be what?
It's just going to be streaming it and not downloading it to your device.
Oh, okay. So you're streaming in that mode and you're not, okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
So you have to be connected to the internet then.
But if the patron if they're doing that method, but they also have Libby on their phone, they can open up Libby and it should show up in their section over there. I'll open it up right now. Watch. Lonely screen. It will show up at their loans, right? So, oops, I lost it. Let's go back in. So yeah, it'll show up if they borrowed it using that browser method, and then they open up Libby, and it will show up. You know where that is at the bottom of the screen? Oops. To the right of the Libby logo. There it is.
Well, another question is the older Kindles that people come in with, the Paperwhites and those, are those still gonna work?
You would have to use a browser or Libby and have it sent to that device.
Okay. And does it come up and say, where do you want it to send it to? And then it gives them options, or?
Yeah.
How does it do that?
Like if I were to borrow something real quick and just show you, like, let's book, ebook. Let's say I want to borrow this, and let's say I borrow it right now. Okay, and then go to shelf. Let's see, manage loan. Should ask me, maybe this is one of the rare ones that doesn't have a Kindle version. Well, I'll return that one. Anyway, it should ask you right there, do you want to send it to Kindle or do you want to read it with Libby? If that makes sense.
I'll have to think about that.
Yeah, so, but you can always call me and we could go through this as needed. So basically, there is an option to, like, where is it? In actions? Is it actions up here? Let's see. So I'm in my Libby app, right? I scroll down. Should be settings at the very bottom. See that? Settings. And there's also get some help. So that's another thing patrons need to know, is where they can ask for help using Libby. And settings here, very bottom. See where it says, where would you like to read your books? Read books with. And look what comes up. Kindle apps and devices, or Libby this app. So the reason I was getting confused is because I've already chosen Libby this app, because I usually just read it on this. But if I wanted to choose Kindle apps and devices, now it's going to send it to your Kindle. when you borrow something on Libby. Does that make sense? Again,
Yeah, I just wanted to, I was thinking of those people with the paperweights, you know, the non-fire ones.
yeah, so they would have to do the borrowing on something else, either a computer or Libby app on a phone or something, and have it sent there.
Okay.
It's the same procedure, whether it's a Kindle or a Paperwhite.
I'm just wondering how it goes to that paperweight, how it knows to go to that Kindle.
Well, because what it does is it sends you to Amazon. I'm sure you've been through this with the patron.
Yeah.
You click send to Kindle and then it opens up Amazon. They have to sign into Amazon, which is always,
Okay, so they still have to use that Amazon link?
yeah. But see,
Okay.
with Libby, it sets it up the first time you do it, and you don't have to do that sign into Amazon every single time.
Right.
It's a vast improvement.
Usually the downfall is that you get to the point of transferring it, and then the patron can't remember their login information for Amazon. And that's
Exactly.
sad.
I know it's every time, isn't it? But see, this is where Libby wins. They only have to do that one first time, and then they're set.
Get rid of that Kindle.
Yeah, well, I mean, I just keep using the Paperwhite, keep using the Fire, but use your phone to do the borrowing part.
Yeah. All right. Thank you.
Yeah, if you're still confused, we can talk about this when needed. It's no problem. But other things I wanted to mention was that if you may know that some books, like let me open this up, there are formats, and there's EPUB format. I don't expect you to know this, but EPUB versus what's the other one? Just trying to find my browser here. EPUB versus PDF. So I'm going to just show you, we have this collection called the UP Notable Books, if you're familiar with those. The UP Notable Books, a list that comes out. I've been working with the individual authors, the ones that aren't available commercially. I'm getting them to graciously donate a copy to me, like this Kabagam one, which is really interesting. But this one, John Smollen's book called Out, and that one, we could not purchase it, but I reached out to his publisher and they sent us a copy of it donated to but notice I'm looking at the Great Lakes Digital using a browser. And if I open this up, you'll see what I mean here. See where it says formats, PDF ebook. So this, since it's only a PDF format, it does not display in Libby. But I was told that that's coming soon. They're working on allowing the PDFs to open in Libby. So that's one of my goals, is to get every one of the books on that UP Notable Books list.
Good question.
Accessible, yeah.
Do you have to have Adobe Reader to use that PDF?
No, that would just open up in the browser. You don't have to have Adobe Reader. It'll open up in the browser.
Okay, thanks.
Mm-hmm. You're welcome. Good questions. But there's also a lot of things coming. So I'm going to go to this page here, which I can show you the link at the top here, resources.overdrive.com/Libby-FAQs/. So I can send all this out in an email after this. But this is reaching more users with Libby frequently asked questions. So there are a lot of questions on here. What are Overdrive's plans for Libby and the Overdrive app? So it explains after February, no more Overdrive app. Things like that. Why is Overdrive winding down the Overdrive app? It got some answer there. That basically they're trying to push Libby because they're putting more effort into that. What else? There were a couple of, before we end, there were a couple of interesting ones, like in what ways is Libby accessible? So that's one of the things, like it's supposed to support screen readers, voice control, assistive technologies, things like that, right? So very important going forward that we have more accessibility. what other questions were, oh, here it is. What are the plans for the PDF only titles? So they say that they're working on that. And this one you may have noticed, I haven't gotten any questions today about this, but will users be able to recommend titles in Libby? Hopefully you know that on the Great Lakes Digital on the browser, you can recommend a title if a patron searches for it and they don't find it. Of course, I would tell them to go to MCLS and Lakeland and so forth and search there first. But if you still can't find it, there should be a section that comes up for recommend title. And they can enter their email address and so forth and be informed when that does come in, when we purchase it. So there, right now, you cannot do that on Libby. I don't know if anyone's noticed that, but there's no way to recommend titles using Libby, but they're working on that. So will Libby ever be available? Here's the big question on Kindle Fire tablets. Libby is not currently available, etc. And they're basically saying they're hoping to, they're trying to do it, but for the near future, no. Here's another one I haven't been asked. What are the plans for downloading audiobooks to a desktop computer using Overdrive for Windows and Overdrive for Mac? So you may know that you have certain patrons out there that are still using what I call the old method for downloading MP3s. Like a lot of people use those, like those little SanDisk MP3 players. A lot of people like are jogging or whatever, and they don't like to carry the hefty iPhone with them, and they want to use their old trusty MP3 player. So they use this method, right? They download it using this Overdrive for Windows. Well, basically the answer is this is going away as well. So they're trying to force people just to use for audiobooks to use Libby. Any more questions? I'm going to send out the link to this page. This is very important toward the bottom. The next to the last question is important that it refers to everyone here. What should my library do to prepare for this update? And they have entire pages, preparation checklists, staff Libby promotions and trainings and materials and things like that. This is being recorded, so you'll be able to share this with other staff members who couldn't make it today, and you can refer back to it. Any more questions? I know I bombarded you with a lot of information, but anytime you get stuck, I want to emphasize, give me a call, email, and we'll sort it out.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Happy
Bye,
holiday.
everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you. It's been very helpful. Thanks, Jeremy. Escanaba appreciates that.
You're welcome, Monique.
All righty.
Thanks for coming. Good to see everybody.
Great. Bye.
Bye.
Everybody say bye.
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 Bye.